When I pushed open the door to the private room, Bradley was kneeling on one knee in front of a girl, holding up a huge diamond ring in his hand. The girl was wearing the same limited edition dress as me. But because of her frail figure, she couldn't fill it out, her body not as curvy as mine. A lot of people in the room were throwing me amazed glances. The girl looked at me with dissatisfaction, lifting her chin. "Bradley, who's she?" Bradley quickly grabbed her hand. "She's just a poor student I'm sponsoring." "Don't tell me she's your secret girlfriend? Dating her? Don't joke around. We're from different worlds. My mom would skin me alive." He scoffed. "I heard you've had a secret lover for 4 years. Since you're proposing to me, you'd better get rid of the women on the outside. I don't want anything dirty." Bradley turned his cold gaze toward me, his eyes full of disdain. "What are you doing here?" That's when I remembered why I was there. A mutual friend had sent me a screenshot saying Bradley was proposing tonight. He had blocked me on IG, so everyone thought he was planning a surprise for me. I purposely wore the dress he gave me and put on beautiful makeup, planning to give him an even bigger surprise. I would propose to him first. Even if I'm a bit narcissistic, I knew tonight's proposal wasn't going to be for me. Bradley was still kneeling. I walked over gracefully and shoved the bouquet into his arms. "I heard you're proposing, so I came to congratulate you." I slipped a bank card into his chest pocket. "This is the money I owe you. Use it to see a specialist and get your bad breath checked. Don't have a kid, ugly, and with a stinky mouth." The girl was so mad, she was about to hit me. I dodged and shot a sideways glance at her flat chest, frowning. "Did Bradley have you wear this dress to embarrass you in front of everyone?" I struck a seductive pose, flashing a sweet smile. The girl's eyes immediately dropped to my bust, and her face turned red with anger. "Bradley, didn't you say there were only 2 of these dresses?" I laughed softly, flicking my fingers. "You have one, I have one. Isn't that just perfect?" Her face went green, and she slapped Bradley across the face. Bradley lost his balance and fell to the ground. The private room was in complete chaos. I waved my hand and left. I didn't stop walking until I was far away, making sure no one saw me. Then I sat down by the side of the road and cried like a fool. Bradley had indeed sponsored me, but we had been in a relationship for 4 years. Because of our differences in status, I didn't want others to think I was after his money, so not many people knew about us. I didn't expect this would give him the perfect excuse to cheat. 4 years of my youth, completely wasted. I even dressed up in a showy outfit to propose to him. Thinking about it made me feel so embarrassed. I was crying so hard I could barely breathe when suddenly I got a call from my boss. Kyle's deep voice came through. "Linda, come to the office now. My assistant is out of town, and there's a document I need by tomorrow morning." I glanced at my phone and spoke with a stuffy nose. "It's already after 8 p.m., boss." "Sorry, it's really urgent." He paused, then added, "Have you been crying?" I sniffed and hiccuped. "I haven't been crying. I'll be there soon." Working class people don't have time to feel sorry for themselves, so I wiped my face and hailed a taxi. I started working as Kyle's secretary right after graduation. He's a workaholic, so I had to keep up with his pace. But Kyle's generous salary allowed me to save quite a bit in just a year. Tonight, I originally planned to return the money Bradley had sponsored me and start a relationship with him on equal terms. But the feeling of grievance surged up again, and I sniffled. When I sat at my desk, Kyle came out of his office. He's a no-nonsense guy, dressed in a perfectly tailored black suit, his tie knotted immaculately. His deep eyes scanned me coldly, and when they landed on my chest, he quickly looked away. That's when I realized, from his angle, he had a clear view of everything. This dress was too revealing, especially with such a low neckline, and definitely didn't meet his standards for secretary attire. I awkwardly covered my chest with one hand. "Sorry, I didn't have time to change." "It won't happen again." He nodded expressionlessly and handed me a file. "Finish this, and you can leave." With that, he turned and walked away, and the invisible pressure lifted. By the time I finished, it was well past 10 p.m. Kyle checked for any errors, stood up, and fastened the bottom button of his suit jacket. I had heard from Bradley that Kyle's family was one of the top wealthy families in a city, and even he couldn't compare to them. Bradley once told me I was lucky to have landed a job in Kyle's office right after graduation. Let's go, I'll take you home, Kyle said. I was about to agree when I suddenly felt a wave of dizziness and my mind went blank. Before my body hit the ground, a big hand caught my waist. When I woke up in the hospital, I had an IV drip in my hand. Kyle was leaning on his arm, dozing lightly. His bone structure was sharp, and his features deep set. Under the cold white light, he looked so handsome it was hard to look away, exuding an aura of restraint. Having been by his side for a year, this was the first time I dared to study him closely. His long eyelashes fluttered, and he opened his eyes, meeting mine. I quickly shut my eyes. It's low blood sugar. Sorry for keeping you late. He spoke slowly. It's not your fault. I forgot to eat. I said, embarrassed. I was so overworked that I even dragged my boss to the hospital. The doctor had given me glucose and advised me to drink it when I felt dizzy. Kyle listened attentively and grabbed the bag. He walked to the emergency room door and took off his suit jacket. It's cold tonight. Put this on. I glanced at the low-cut neckline, then obediently put it on. I'm going to greet a friend. Come with me. Okay. I meekly followed him. His friend was on the 8th floor, in the obstetrics and gynecology department. This friend was lively and very different from Kyle. He had a mischievous glint in his eye as he looked between the two of us, teasing. You're one lucky guy. Kyle gave him a punch. Don't talk nonsense. She has a boyfriend. We're leaving. I followed him into the elevator. When I looked up, the last person I wanted to see was standing there. Bradley's sister. My relationship with Bradley was never approved by his family, and his relatives were the most opposed. Now, Natalie was glaring at the suit jacket I was wearing with the most venomous eyes. She glanced at the floor indicator in the elevator, then shrieked, Linda, what are you doing with a man in the OB/GYN department in the middle of the night? Are you cheating on my brother? Is that why you're such a cheap woman, sleeping with anyone who pays? My brother still treats you like a treasure. I'll tell him to dump you. Kyle furrowed his brow, about to speak. I gently pulled on his arm, hanging on him with my hands, my body soft like I was clinging to him. Cheating on your brother? That's only because he's useless and can't satisfy me. Go back and tell Bradley to check his own body at the hospital. The elevator reached the ground floor. Don't thank me. I've always been generous with my exes. I pressed myself against Kyle, swaying my hips as I walked out. Natalie stomped her feet in anger but couldn't do anything about it. I didn't let go of Kyle's arm until we reached the car. I apologized timidly, I'm sorry, I was just so angry earlier. I didn't mean to take advantage of you. Kyle glanced down at his wrinkled shirt, his voice low, it's fine. His calm demeanor was no different from usual, so I relaxed a little. As we drove, Bradley's calls flooded in. The moment I answered, he bombarded me with questions. Who is that guy with you? You're pregnant with his child? Was all that innocence just an act for me? If you betray me, I'll destroy you. I laughed in disbelief. Mr. Bradley, you really are a double standard, aren't you? What, you get to cheat and have fun, but I'm not allowed to enjoy myself? It's the 21st century now. Seems like you not only need to deal with your bad breath, but you'd better open up your skull and wash out all the outdated ideas in your head. I hung up immediately and blocked his number. Kyle shot me a quick glance and commented, nice way with words. I shrank back, blushing deeply. As we entered the neighborhood, I saw Bradley pacing downstairs by my building. I bit my lip and looked up at Kyle with puppy dog eyes. Could you? Kyle sighed, come on, I'll walk you up. Thanks, I'll work harder from now on. Kyle adjusted my blazer, wrapping his long arm around me to shield me as we walked. He was so tall, I looked like a little chick next to him, with only my face visible. Bradley stormed over, cursing under his breath. You actually brought some random guy home? Shameless. Let's see who dares to mess with me. K. Kyle? When he saw Kyle, all his bravado instantly evaporated. His trembling finger dropped to his side. Kyle gave a slight nod. It's me. Bradley let out a relieved sigh. If it's you, I'm not worried. You're the kind of person who wouldn't be interested in someone like Linda. What kind of person is she? Kyle frowned. You don't know? She's an orphan, grew up in an orphanage. She's not like the girls from normal families. My family completely disagrees with me dating her, and with your status. If you tell me you two have some kind of relationship, I'd never believe it. Bradley spoke confidently, his tone dripping with disdain. Anger surged through me. I couldn't believe the man I had loved for 4 years looked down on me like this. I had always known that there was a massive gap between social classes, but Bradley's sweet words had blinded me, making me foolishly believe that our relationship could break through societal barriers, rise above class distinctions. At the very least, I thought there would be mutual respect. I must have been blind all along. My chest heaved in fury. I wanted to march up and tear him apart, but Kyle held me back, pressing me gently into his chest. His face was grim, and the usually composed gaze in his eyes now had a faint coldness. Mr. Bradley, badmouthing someone after breaking up is rather uncouth. With that, he turned his back to Bradley and gently escorted me upstairs. Bradley was still waiting outside, banging on the door. Kyle sat down on my pink sofa, his posture perfectly composed, yet the contrast between his imposing presence and the delicate setting felt almost surreal. He was only 30, but there was something about the way he moved, his quiet authority, that gave off an overwhelming sense of nobility and power. I handed him a plate of grapes, and he popped one into his mouth. He frowned. Sour. And that was the end of his snack. I didn't have any other fruit to offer him, so I stood there awkwardly. He took out his phone and started checking stock prices, while the room filled with an uncomfortable silence. Bradley's pounding on the door grew louder. It's getting late, you should go back now. Kyle tucked his phone away and stood up. In a panic, I wrapped my arms around his waist. His body stiffened visibly. I pressed my cheek against his broad back and whispered, "You can't leave." Kyle gently pried my arms off, but I held onto his hand, sliding it down to the hem of my skirt. Don't you want to try? Kyle's voice turned hoarse. Try what? Me. Bradley's knocking sped up, just like the frantic beating of my own heart. I'm sweet. You'll know once you try. I stood on tiptoe, craning my neck. He was too tall, and I couldn't reach. My lips brushed lightly against his throat. His body tensed, his Adam's apple bobbing as he swallowed. Still not close enough, I grabbed his tie and tugged it down, finally pressing my lips to his. His lips were cool and perfectly shaped, a sensation I could feel all the way through my skin. I carefully traced his lips, teasing him, pulling back just as I was about to kiss him fully. Kyle's breath became more erratic, and his body pulled back slightly, putting some distance between us. Although he was obviously affected, his words came out clearly, "Are you trying to make him jealous?" Tears clouded my vision, but I whispered, "I just feel so hurt." Does this make you feel better? I want to try. A tear slid down my cheek. I wasn't sure, but right now, I just wanted to break free, to rebel, to go against everything. I had always been so strict with myself, bound by a strong sense of right and wrong, keeping myself within the framework of a good girl. But now, I hated that rigid self-control. I wanted to be a bad girl, because at least then, I wouldn't get hurt. Kyle's eyes held a complicated emotion, one I didn't quite understand before he lowered his head to kiss me. His kiss was as quiet and gentle as he was. His lips brushed my eyes, my cheek, my nose, before finally meeting my waiting mouth. Outside, Bradley continued to bang on the door. Open the door. Linda. Don't make me angry. Kyle rested his forehead against mine, his breath hot, but his lips still carrying a fresh, fruity scent. You can still stop now. It's not too late. But I rebelled, slipping my hand under his shirt. Kyle's pupils contracted sharply, his eyes dark and terrifying. In an instant, everything spun, and I was thrown onto the bed. Bradley's voice now had a note of desperation. Open the door. We need to talk. I never loved her. Tonight was just a game. Kyle grabbed my hands and held them behind my head, his intense gaze locking onto me. Who am I? Kyle. You're Kyle. I arched my back to reach for him. Like magma breaking through the surface after years of pressure, my willpower collapsed in an instant. Kyle finally lost control. When the lava broke through the clouds, I cried out in pain. Outside, Bradley's strength seemed to drain away as he collapsed against the door, his voice hoarse with tears. "Please, don't hurt me anymore. You can't do this to me." Kyle paused, his gaze fixed on me, emotion swirling in his eyes. After a long silence, he spoke quietly, "I'm sorry, I didn't know it was your first time." I wasn't happy with his distracted tone. With my arms like jelly, I pulled him back, whispering, "I don't think I feel that bad anymore." Kyle's breath, previously controlled, grew even more ragged. Then he smiled, a wild, seductive smile. With a flick of his fingers, he twirled a lock of my hair. "You can be even happier. I've heard rumors in the company for a while now that Kyle isn't into women. I mean, with his impressive family background and looks that could stop traffic, how come no one's ever seen him with a girlfriend?" As his secretary, I originally thought one of my main tasks would be delivering gifts to various female celebrities. But that's not it. Kyle's personal life is as clean as that of a monk. At one point, I even wondered if he had plans to leave everything behind and become a monk. But now, all those thoughts have been completely wiped away. The Kyle from last night, he was relentless, taking again and again, never seeming to tire. The desire in his eyes burned through the night. Later, when I was crying and trying to push him away, scratching, kicking, anything I could do, he just kept patiently kissing away my tears, his voice low and full of patience. "Open your legs, my sweet." When I woke up, the room was dim. A shaft of bright, clear sunlight filtered through the gap in the curtains, falling onto the broad-shouldered man. Kyle was sitting by my little coffee table, handling some work. He sat on the floor, his long legs encased in suit pants, their muscles taut, but with no place to rest them, so they were curled around the sides of the table. When he looked at documents, he liked to wear a pair of gold-rimmed glasses, which softened his harsh demeanor and gave him an air of a charming but slightly disreputable scholar. He noticed my gaze, took off his glasses, holding them in his right hand, and looked back at me with a gentle expression, even flashing a teasing smile. In my memory, Kyle rarely smiled. It could be said that his emotions never showed on his face. He could sign contracts worth billions with a casual indifference. It's said that people who rarely smile look especially attractive when they do. Kyle was one of those people, and it was easy to get lost in his smile, to the point of losing my mind. I felt a little embarrassed, pulling the blanket over my bare shoulders, trying to hide it. I tried to make small talk. "Weren't you in a meeting this morning?" Only when I spoke did I realize my throat was sore. Last night's scenes, where I screamed until my throat ached, flashed through my mind, and my cheeks burned with embarrassment. Kyle stood up from the floor, poured me a glass of water, and sat on the edge of the bed. I came back after the meeting. He looked like he was in a good mood. He reached out and placed his hand on my back, trying to help me sit up. His dry palm was warm and gently pressed against my skin. I shivered, goosebumps rising all over my body. I gripped the blanket, sitting up awkwardly. "I can do it myself." But I was so exhausted that I almost leaned into him. He held the glass to my lips, and I lowered my head to drink from his hand. "Does it still hurt?" he suddenly asked. I nearly choked on the water. He gently patted my back, a soft laugh escaping his throat. "So easily shy?" After he spoke, a warm kiss landed on my ear, and the heat from his breath lingered, burning in a way that made my heart race. "Linda," he whispered. I shifted forward, wanting to pull away, but he grabbed my chin with one hand, his voice low and commanding, "Don't hide." "It doesn't look good there," I said. There was an unsightly scar behind my ear, and I didn't like showing it to anyone. "It looks good, you look good everywhere." His voice was deep and seductive, sending shivers down my spine. "Want some more water?" I shook my head. He set the glass aside. "Then focus." Suddenly, he bit my earlobe and asked, "Take it off, all right?" I couldn't control the blush rising on my face. It was more than just shyness, it was embarrassment and shame. I knew exactly what he meant. "If I take it off, I won't be able to hear," I bit my lip, refusing. He pulled me into his arms, pressing me against his chest. His heart beat rapidly, the sound deafening. "You don't need to hear, your body will tell you," he murmured, coaxing. I couldn't resist his allure and obediently removed my cochlear implant. I was a person with a hearing impairment, and this was the first time I had taken off my implant in front of someone. And doing this, there was a sense of fear, mixed with an almost hidden anticipation. Kyle seemed even more excited than last night. He was like a pure, lovesick boy desperately trying to win over his beloved girl, doing everything he could to please me. I was in so much pain that I bit my hand and sobbed softly. But he didn't allow it. He forcefully placed my hand on his broad shoulder, watching me helplessly cry. He spoke, and through my blurry tears, I read his lips, cry it out. I couldn't bear it anymore and let my body react honestly, crying while biting him. He kissed me on the towering peak of the mountain, his expression soft, focused, and full of passion. His crimson lips parted and closed. Linda. Linda. He didn't stop until I was about to pass out. I have low blood sugar, I muttered, pouting in displeasure. He set a lavish spread of food on the table one by one. Otherwise, do you think I'd let you off so easily? Pervert, I snapped. Kyle, didn't you have women in your past life? He paused for a moment, then answered seriously, I don't know about my past life, but if I did, you should know whether I have any now. Indeed, no one knew Kyle's personal life better than I did. I was the only female employee in the entire secretarial department. He seemed allergic to women, especially to those who threw themselves at him. His shirt buttons were always fastened all the way to the top, and his handsome face remained expressionless. He didn't love anyone. But what he didn't know was that the colder and more indifferent he was, the more women became obsessed with him. Thinking about it, I really got lucky. He had a good body, strong stamina. I shouldn't think about it. The moment I did, my waist hurt. What about him? I tried to change the subject nonchalantly. It had been a while since I last heard Bradley's voice. He hadn't ended up buried in the ground, had he? He was dragged back home by his family and locked up, Kyle said. He paused as if choosing his words carefully. You know I have a strict policy against office relationships. With our current situation, you might not be suited to stay in the secretarial department. I know, I nodded casually. I'll hand in my resignation today. You want to resign? Kyle's gaze turned icy, scrutinizing me deeply. Aren't you implying that? Actually, I had already decided last night, when I seduced him, that I would move to a different city to start a new life. After finishing university in this city, I had joined a top 500 global company in a haze, had a short but unforgettable relationship, and ended it by sleeping with the boss. Not bad, really. Quite dramatic. I just want to transfer you to another department, Kyle said, slamming his fork down on the table. His tone turned cold. So tell me, what's your plan? I don't have a plan, I lowered my head, avoiding his gaze, my voice muffled. I don't plan to cling to you, so you don't need to worry about me spilling anything. I'm just a deaf person. If people find out you slept with me, it'll be so embarrassing, right? I forced a laugh, pretending not to care. Kyle froze for a moment, his brow furrowing. Is that how you see me? I didn't answer. Have you ever thought about being with me? No, don't worry, absolutely not, I tried to make my gaze firm, pretending. I wanted to prove to him that I had no inappropriate feelings toward him. His eyes flickered, a bitter smile curling on his lips. Why not consider me? What's so bad about me compared to him? How could Kyle be worse than Bradley? He was successful in his career, handsome, disciplined, and well-mannered. 10 Bradleys wouldn't even come close to Kyle's wealth. The thing is, Kyle was too good enough to shine just by standing there, becoming the center of attention wherever he went. How could I possibly be a match for him? I was an orphan with no parents, and I was deaf. If my cochlear implant ran out of power and turned off, I would be a mute, unable to respond to the outside world. Before, I thought Bradley didn't make our relationship public because of my request. But last night, I realized how shameful it was for him to date me. I was a defective creation of God. I once had the ignorant and fearless courage to overcome all obstacles for love, but last night, it all completely drained away. Bradley was right. If even his family couldn't accept me, how could I expect to gain Kyle's family's approval? Why can he do it, but I can't? Kyle pressed persistently. His lips were tightly pursed, and his gaze was deep and dark, as if he expected an answer from me. I casually tucked a strand of hair behind my ear and smiled without a care. Boss, you're 7 years older than me. I don't want a dad-like boyfriend. We both enjoyed ourselves last night, didn't we? Don't tell me you're too proud for that. I've got a great figure, and you didn't lose out. Listen to me. Don't get involved with a poor girl like me, or you'll end up losing everything, even your underwear. Anger started to seep into Kyle's eyes, his fists clenched so tightly that his knuckles turned white. When he spoke again, his usually steady voice betrayed a hint of trembling. So, I'm just a tool to annoy your boyfriend? Make him jealous, show him his place in your heart, and now the tool is supposed to exit, is that it? I smiled sweetly, as expected of the boss, you guessed it right. Kyle nodded, then grabbed his suit jacket off the couch without saying another word. As he turned to leave, his broad shoulders seemed to carry an overwhelming sense of loneliness. But just before he left, he spoke with a blank face, quit after you find a new job. Stay in the planning department for now. Before I could even say thank you, the door slammed shut behind him as he walked out. Thank you, Kyle, I whispered. To be honest, I had no idea where I was supposed to go or what kind of job to look for. After all, in today's job market, someone like me, disabled, would face a lot of discrimination. The planning department made me see what real society was like. Here, people were constantly scheming against each other, full of suspicion and endless internal conflict. At first, everyone thought I was one of Kyle's trusted insiders, so they treated me with kindness. But once they realized I had been sent here as punishment for offending Kyle, their tone turned mocking. I humbly asked, "Excuse me, what does this data column mean, Miss Olga?" Olga feigned surprise, "You were once the president's secretary. You don't even know this?" A male colleague eagerly came to my defense, "She's not from our industry, it's normal that she doesn't know." Just as I was about to thank him, he suddenly leaned in close to my ear, his arm casually draped around my shoulder, and asked, "How did you make it into the president's office back then?" You should know, since Kyle took over, he's never hired a female secretary, and with your qualifications, you. He pointed at the external device attached to my ear. I stepped back a few paces, trying to distance myself from his foul breath. I wasn't going to answer his question, so I quietly packed my things, preparing to leave. Miss Olga let out a snort and said, "What do you think it was for? Haven't you figured it out?" She then purposely pushed her chest forward. Her posture was both fake and sleazy. Everyone burst into laughter. I sat at my desk, sighing. So this is what the real workplace is like. Back when I had questions, I would simply knock on the president's office door and ask Kyle. He was always so busy, but he'd give clear, concise answers without ever brushing me off. He never mocked me, and he never tried to take advantage of me. It made me believe that the whole company operated with mutual help and respect. But now I wasn't so sure why Kyle even took an interest in me. His assistant, Lucien, had a PhD from one of the world's top universities, and the other people in the secretary department were at least graduates of prestigious domestic universities, most of them having worked for other well-known companies. And then there was me, just a regular college grad. A deaf person, at that. Maybe Kyle just felt sorry for me. But that didn't quite add up, there were so many people who were worse off, yet he didn't show kindness to everyone. Looking around the entire building, I was the only disabled one. Oh, I get it now. Suddenly, a light bulb went off in my head. He probably thought I wouldn't have the guts to go after him like other women, because he didn't find me attractive, so he didn't care. Normally, when you finally figure out something that has been troubling you for a long time, you should feel relieved. But why did my heart feel so heavy instead? When Bradley appeared, my chest felt like it was about to explode. He blocked my way as I was about to leave, his voice cold, "I really underestimated you." I was so full of anger that I couldn't hold it in anymore, and now this person was practically offering himself up. Underrate me? That's your problem, who told you to look down on me? Bradley gritted his teeth and let out a long sigh. Forget it, I can't argue with you. Linda, I was actually planning to come find you sooner, but I only got around to it today because my mom locked me up. Is being a mama's boy something to brag about? I raised an eyebrow. I just got out, and here I am. Linda, I really miss you. Did you miss me? How could I not miss you? We've been together for 4 years. I said with deep affection. Bradley's smile spread across his face. I quickly changed the subject, so every time I pass by the funeral home, I think the one who's dead is you. When you suddenly show up today, I thought you were coming back from the dead. Bradley's hand trembled, "You're being so harsh." Does Kyle know? Of course. He was right there when I told you your manhood didn't work. The anger I'd been holding back for so long exploded all at once. This should definitely be the kind of pressure that won't lead to breast cancer. Linda, that proposal was forced by my mom. The girl's father holds a lot of power, and it would help my family's business. I don't like her at all. But you're still going to marry her, right? Bradley shifted his gaze, unable to meet my eyes. So why are you here today? Even if I marry her, we can still be like we used to. I really like you. If it weren't for you not helping my family, why would I marry someone I don't like? Bradley said shamelessly. Oh, I see. What you mean is, after you get married, we can continue our secret relationship. Our love is real, we don't need to worry about those fake wedding ceremonies. You'll keep giving me all kinds of money, and where else could I find such a good deal, right? Exactly. Kyle's status makes it impossible for him to marry you. I'm the best option for you. I'm glad you finally understand. Bradley smiled with self-satisfaction, as if he were about to hand me the title of mistress right there. Slap. I slapped him without mercy. Idiot. I turned and walked away. Bradley stood there stunned, then reacted after a while, shouting at me viciously, Linda, if your colleagues and friends find out you've found a better protector and dumped the boyfriend who paid for your surgery and tuition, what do you think they'll think of you? I froze for a moment. Turns out, after being lovers for so long, he knew exactly where my weakness lay. It was you who cheated first. I slowly turned around, looking at him in disbelief. And I already paid you back all the money you spent. What else do you want? 30,000 for the cochlear implant. 30,000 from 15 years ago, does that amount mean the same thing as 30,000 now? And the money for speech therapy, if you hadn't gone through it at the right time, you wouldn't even be able to speak now. Do you think you can ever repay this debt in your lifetime? I staggered backward a few steps, all the strength drained from my body, and an endless sadness surged from within. How did I survive that drunkard back then? A person like me, still wasting money on treatment. And in the end, I was blackmailed, forced to spend my whole life repaying this debt. I forced a bitter smile. How about I just give you my life? I've had enough of living anyway. Bradley's eyes widened in fear. He seemed genuinely flustered, his words stumbling. I didn't mean it like that. I just don't want to lose you. I love you so much. I want to keep you by my side. Don't even think about it for this lifetime. I spoke with a calmness that came from seeing through life and death, my tone indifferent. My life's right here. If you want to take it, just say the word. I won't hesitate for a second. Bradley was startled. He reached out to touch me, but stopped, afraid to do so. I yanked the hearing aid from my ear and threw it into the trash. The world fell silent. Everything I wanted to hear, everything I didn't, could no longer be heard. Bradley panicked. He rushed to the trash can, a man who always cared about cleanliness, now oblivious to the foul stench, digging through it frantically. I didn't bother to watch, resolutely walking away. Bradley placed the cochlear implant at my doorstep, but I didn't take it. If he insisted, I'd cut open the scar behind my ear, take out the hearing aid implanted there, and return it to him. He later cried in desperation, trembling as he slid a note under the door, I'm sorry. Please don't torture yourself like this. I'll never force you again. Seeing you like this hurts so much, I can't bear it. I tossed his note into the trash. Without the cochlear implant, I could only communicate with others by gesturing and writing. The people in the planning department looked down on me even more. But strangely, I felt a peace inside. This, it seemed, was the world I was meant to live in. This was the treatment I deserved. But then, one morning, when I arrived at the office, everything seemed different. Miss Olga was transferred to another location, and the male colleague who had harassed me was fired. Everyone started being polite to me again. They smiled at me in a flattering way, trying to show how close they wanted to be. I wrote a note and stuck it on my computer, don't pity me. They awkwardly smiled and left. By the end of the day, a freshly graduated girl handed me a note, they're not pitying you. Someone from the CEO's office came today, and all the people who made things hard for you have been punished. You have someone protecting you now, and everyone's jealous of you. I blinked, writing back, who came? Lucien. No one will dare say anything bad to you from now on. Lucien? He was Kyle's right-hand man. Did Kyle send him? I had been so angry with him, and yet, he still had someone protect me. Why is he being so kind to me? I felt guilty. I'd said some harsh words to Bradley and never regretted it. But when I thought about the words I had intentionally said to Kyle that day, I felt deeply ashamed. Probably no one else dared to speak to him like that. The girl sent another note, "You haven't been looking well lately. You should see a doctor." I really hadn't been feeling well. I didn't want to eat, had no energy for anything, kept forgetting what I wanted to do, and was always waking up from nightmares at night. I might as well go see a doctor. Living for today didn't really contradict dying tomorrow. You're pregnant. Take this test result directly to room 1 in the obstetrics and gynecology department. The female doctor in front of me wrote this on a note. She had a kind face, and her eyes were filled with sympathy as she looked at me. I was completely stunned. I was pregnant? That one night of madness had left me carrying Kyle's child? But those 2 days were my safe period. I thought I didn't need to take any pills, I wrote. Poor child, the safe period doesn't mean absolute safety, the doctor replied. I knocked on the door of room 1 in the obstetrics and gynecology department in a daze. The doctor sitting behind the desk looked up, and to my shock, it was one of Kyle's friends. The same friend Kyle had introduced me to that night. He squinted his eyes with a flirtatious smile and mouthed, "It's you." I nodded, pointing to my ear and waving my hand. He froze for a second, then wiped the smile off his face, asking, "You can't hear?" I nodded. He took the report from my hands and wrote on a note, 7 weeks pregnant. Do you want to keep the baby? It was Kyle's child. Of course, I couldn't keep it. Forget the baby, if his family found out, my life would probably be over anyway. I shook my head and wrote, "I don't want to keep it." His expression faltered for a moment, then he wrote, "Do you want to discuss it with your boyfriend?" I shook my head indifferently and wrote, "No need." He paused for a moment, "The sooner the abortion, the better for your recovery." Today. I wrote directly. He didn't expect me to be so resolute, and was left speechless, then laughed a little. It's rare to see someone so calm. "I'll arrange for you to be admitted today, surgery tomorrow." He quickly wrote out the admission form and handed it to me. I looked down at it, and when I saw his signature, I froze. I couldn't control my hand as I stared at this handsome man in front of me, trembling as I wrote, "Your name is Martin?" He looked puzzled at my reaction and wrote, "My mom gave me this name." Is it bad? Should I change it? I stared at his face, seeing nothing unusual. Then I wrote, "Someone has been sending me money since I was 9. The account name was Martin." As soon as I wrote it, I shook my head, dismissing the thought. How could it be him? The person who had been supporting me was Bradley, and his online name was Martin. I must have been confused. I smiled awkwardly, crossing out that line and writing again, "It must just be a coincidence. Sorry for the trouble." Just as I stood up, Dr. Martin suddenly placed his hand on my shoulder. He wrote passionately on the note, "You're that Linda, the mute girl?" He finished writing, then immediately tore it up and wrote again, "You grew up in the XX orphanage, Linda?" He really knew me. Tears welled up in my eyes, and I curled up, crying uncontrollably. All this time, Bradley had claimed that he was the one who contacted foreign doctors to arrange my cochlear implant. He had even arranged rehabilitation for me and sent me living and tuition money every month until I graduated from university. Bradley's online name just happened to match the name of the person who had been sending me money. But something always felt off, because it seemed like he didn't really understand cochlear implants. Every time the topic came up, he'd quickly change the subject. I thought maybe he just didn't want to brag. But it wasn't him at all. I cried, my shoulders shaking, feeling like there was someone out there, someone with a faint blood connection to me, and I had been searching for so long to find him, to prove that I wasn't a tree with no roots. Today, I finally found him. Like a bird with broken wings, finally finding a place where it would never be abandoned or rejected. Martin had pulled me out of the silent world, supporting me for 15 years. To me, he was my safe haven. Thank you. I've finally met you. I grinned, smiling like a fool. He waved his hands desperately, and I thought he was saying I didn't need to thank him. Then, he wrote on the paper, "It's not me. I have a bank card I lent to a friend 15 years ago. It was he who sent you the money." My mind went blank, and I hurriedly wrote, "Who's your friend?" He wrote, "You know him. Kyle." 15 years ago, when Kyle was 15, his father passed away. The massive family conglomerate was left for his mother to manage, struggling to hold everything together. From that day on, Kyle was burdened with a heavy mission, to take over his mother's responsibilities as soon as possible. He stopped going to school and had a private tutor every day, completing all his lessons in the shortest time possible. Then, a special teacher taught him corporate management, after which he started attending one meeting after another with his mother, and participating in various events. Volunteering at the XX orphanage became an annual event for the company's executives. Spending a little money for maximum publicity, it was a no-brainer, a win-win situation. By then, Kyle had already grown into a tall, handsome young man, his figure long and lean, dressed in a well-fitted suit that made him look like a prince, radiating wealth and sophistication. A few close-ups of him on TV could easily double the company's revenue. That day, after posing for photos with children, drawing together, Kyle wandered into a small classroom by chance. There, he saw a frail, skinny girl standing in front of a mirror, repeatedly saying, "Hello, hello." Kyle was confused, tapping the girl on the shoulder. She jumped in surprise. "What are you doing?" The girl tilted her head, her pure face breaking into a sweet smile as she said, "Hello." "Hello?" Kyle asked. She smiled again and repeated, "Hello. Can't you hear me?" Kyle pointed to his ears. The girl nodded quietly. Later, Kyle went to speak with the orphanage director to learn about the girl's situation. "Linda? She's a poor child. She used to be fine, but her biological father hit her so badly that she became deaf." "Why does she keep repeating 'hello'?" Kyle asked. "She's postlingually deaf. She can still remember some sounds, but after more than 3 years of being deaf, it's hard for her to speak properly." "Can't she wear a hearing aid?" "A hearing aid wouldn't work. They say she could wear a cochlear implant, but that costs hundreds of thousands, and our orphanage can't afford it." At the time, even for Kyle, that was no small amount of money. Kyle told his mother he wanted to help this girl. His mother immediately rejected it. "Remember your mission. Everything you do should benefit the company. Think about your father, don't let him die in vain." His father had died due to internal company strife, and whether or not he had peace, Kyle didn't know. But what he did know was that the cat he had raised was thrown off a rooftop by his mother, and that poor creature never had peace. Kyle compromised on the surface. But privately, he borrowed Martin's name and arranged the surgery for the girl, set up language rehabilitation for her, and sent her money until she graduated from college. For Kyle, Linda was like that little cat from years ago, offering him a kind of psychological comfort that was unrelated to profit. He knew he was born to be a businessman, to survive and develop the company in a world full of schemes. But no one ever cared about his emotional needs. He asked the director to keep his help a secret, but the girl kept pressing him, so Kyle gave her a private email address. That was Kyle's secret base. There, the girl would write to him, telling him every little detail of her life. Her pronunciation improved, she could attend regular school again, she got into college. In her second year, she wrote, "We're finally together. I can tell you my love in person now." After that, she stopped writing for a long time. Until one day, she said, "Sorry, even though you're right here, I always feel like you're a stranger. Sigh, I shouldn't have doubted you. As punishment, I'll be doubly good to you." Her letters stopped again. Near graduation, she sent another email, "Job hunting is so tough, especially for a girl like me with a disability. I feel so powerless, not knowing where I'll end up. But I've got a funny story for you. Today I applied for a position at a big company. If anyone finds out, they'll definitely laugh at me. Alright, I'll just laugh at myself first." Half a month later, she sent another message, "I actually got hired by Shaw Corp. They offered me a position directly in the CEO's office as a secretary. Is this the eighth wonder of the world? Does your email have some kind of magic?" After leaving the hospital, I did 2 things. The first thing was to log into my mobile banking app and confirm that Bradley hadn't withdrawn the money I gave him. I quickly emptied my account. Then I sent him a message, "You big idiot, I wish you a life of poverty and unrequited love, surrounded by misfortune, with beautiful women everywhere but no one who truly cares about you. May you be fed by someone, pushed around in a wheelchair, suffering in bed every night but live a long life. May you have a fortune but no cure. May you be hurt everywhere I can't see, with no warm sun in winter and bedsores in the scorching summer." The second thing was to post on Instagram, "My ears are hurting. I wonder if I'm going deaf again." Bradley replied instantly, "Didn't I pick up your cochlear implant for you? You still can't hear?" Then he added, "Why are you suddenly sending me a message cursing me out?" I ignored him. I opened Kyle's chat window, and finally, the message at the top showed, "The other person is typing. Kyle, isn't it time for your cochlear implant to be adjusted?" Me, "The doctor said the device is too old and is breaking down." Kyle, "But didn't they say it lasts for 70 years? It's only been 15 years. Me, "The doctor said the surgery had issues." This time, Kyle called immediately. "How could there be a problem with the surgery when we hired the best specialist at the time? I'll contact them right now. Don't panic. Stay home and wait for me. Don't go anywhere, okay?" There was an unprecedented panic in Kyle's voice. When I didn't answer, he anxiously called out, "Linda? Can you still hear me, Linda?" Tears silently fell, like beads from a broken string. My lips trembled, wanting to say something, but the overwhelming pain stopped me. I couldn't say a word. "Linda? Can you hear me?" Kyle shouted louder. I sobbed for a while before answering, "I can't hear anymore." I hung up the phone and buried my face in the pillow, crying uncontrollably. Kyle arrived quickly. He pounded on the door, and was about to kick it open. I opened the door and saw his bloodshot eyes, and the tears I had just managed to hold back came pouring out. "Kyle." I cried as I threw myself into his arms. His body stiffened, his hands unsure of where to rest. He had turned back into the cold CEO, not the Kyle who had kissed away my tears while doing bad things to me. "I can't hear anymore, no one wants me." I sobbed pitifully. His hand, which had been raised, finally settled on my back, gently patting me. His broad shoulders enveloped me, and I pressed my face against his chest, feeling an overwhelming sense of security. He said with deep concern, "How could no one want you? As long as you don't mind me being old, I'll take care of you for the rest of your life, treat you like a daughter, like a kitten. I'm deaf. No man will love me. I'm destined to grow old and alone." Kyle pulled me tighter into his embrace, his voice low and affectionate, "I will love you. I will love you forever." I tilted my head and hit him, "I can't hear what you're saying. Can you kiss me?" Kyle pressed his lips together and turned his face away. "See? You don't want to kiss a deaf person." The next moment, Kyle's kiss poured down on me. He kissed my lips, my nose, my eyes, and finally, he brushed my ear with his lips. I pushed him toward the bed. He looked reluctant. "What happened last time was a mistake. We can't." I shouted, "I can't hear what you're saying, but my heart hurts. Only you can make me happy." In a desperate rush, I tugged at his clothes, my hands running wildly over his body, teasing him without any method, wanting to get even closer. Soon, his breathing became uneven. He gritted his teeth and muttered, "You bad woman, always teasing people, so irresponsible. Now you're deaf and even more unreasonable." Did he think that just because I couldn't hear, he could call me a bad woman? Furious, I reached out and pinched his mouth. Kyle grabbed my hand, but instead of pulling it away, he sucked my fingers into his mouth, kissing them softly as if to comfort me. "I'll give you everything, just be a little gentler." I obediently withdrew my hand, letting it slide to his throat, covered in his saliva. Kyle's body tensed up instantly, growing hot, his breath coming in harsh, deep gasps. The desire in his eyes was overwhelming. But he still struggled to hold back. "Just let me suffer," I thought rebelliously, trying to break free from his grip. The next second, he rolled over, finally taking control, his voice rough as he said, "You won't suffer more than I do." My hair was damp with sweat. After the shower, Kyle held me in his arms, patiently drying my hair. Because I couldn't hear, he talked more than usual. "I swear I'm done for in this life. Just you frowning, and I can't stop worrying about you. Do you know? I used to worry every day about you being discriminated against at school. Every time I saw news about bullying, I would break into a cold sweat. Then when you started dating, I began to worry that a boy might hurt you, and what if you got hurt somehow? Later, when you started working, I worried about workplace bullying. I tried to keep you close, to watch over you, to personally teach you. I just wanted you to be able to live independently if something ever happened to me, and I couldn't protect you anymore. Am I your daddy? He asked, pinching my face in mock anger. But a smile full of affection tugged at the corner of his lips. I smiled innocently at him. Wait, if I were your daddy, I'd be a pervert by now. Kyle laughed, shaking his head. He poked my forehead, clearly frustrated. You said you weren't looking for a daddy-type boyfriend anymore, and here I am, warming your bed. Linda, you're just a heartless woman. I glared at him. He smiled warmly, his lips curling up, but his words didn't match his expression. What are you staring at? Want me to smack your butt? Was Kyle schizophrenic? I laughed, cuddling up to him, feeling more peaceful than ever. Kyle continued running his fingers through my hair, when suddenly, my phone rang. I saw Martin on the screen, and my eyes widened in surprise. Since I was deaf, Kyle put the phone on speaker and tossed it on the table, pulling me into his arms and kissing me. Your little secretary came to see me today. She thought it was me helping her all these years, so I told her about all your good deeds. Kyle looked down at me. I lowered my head, not daring to look at him, wanting to run, but his grip tightened, making me feel trapped. His lips left my neck, and he asked slowly, if I remember correctly, you're in obstetrics and gynecology? Yeah, she's pregnant with her boyfriend's child. She came today for a procedure, but I've already prepared the admission papers. Then she said she wanted to talk it over with her boyfriend first. Pregnant? Kyle's eyes flashed with surprise. 7 weeks along. Kyle coughed lightly and cleared his throat. Can she still have bedroom activities in the early stages? Not recommended. It's best to avoid it in the first 3 months. Why are you asking? Wait, are you into office play? Kyle hung up the phone abruptly. His gaze locked onto my face, but he didn't say a word. The silent pressure from him almost took my breath away. My ears hurt. I cried out, covering my ears. Didn't you say you're deaf? Come on, I'll take you to the hospital and have them check your implant. His voice was cold. His clean, handsome face was expressionless, but his clenched jawline showed he was angry. I wrapped my arms around his waist, burying my face in his chest, pretending to be weak. I'm scared. Please don't be mad at me. I looked up at him with tearful, doe eyes, my soft hand lightly running over his abs. Kyle clearly wasn't falling for it. He didn't give me a chance to play it up and quickly dressed me. He shoved me into the car and took me to the hospital. Only when the doctor reassured him multiple times that the baby was fine and my body was healthy did he finally drive me home. His house was a hidden villa in the city center. I thought we were going to start our happy life together. But instead, he slept in a separate bed from me. For several days, he ignored me. Had our relationship taken a step forward, or had we taken a huge step back? That night, I tossed and turned, unable to sleep. I crept quietly into his room and climbed onto his bed. He crossed his arms and moved aside, giving me his cold, bare back. I tugged at him a few times, but couldn't move him, so I climbed onto him. Worried about hurting me, he slowly laid down flat. I racked my brain, trying to recall what I had seen in adult movies, and slowly moved closer to him. I reached out, touching his Adam's apple with my tongue. Kyle's body went stiff immediately, his eyes glowing eerily in the dark. I felt embarrassed and covered his eyes with my hand. His eyelashes brushed against my palm, trembling faster and faster. He grabbed my hand, pinned my shoulder, and his voice was strained and hoarse. The doctor said no, you need to wait. Don't you want me? I asked with a quiver in my voice. No, he said harshly. I don't believe you. Let me see. I tried to pull off his pants. He was both angry and upset. Can you be more reserved? I've been reserved for days. When are you going to take the initiative? I pouted, feeling wronged. He sighed. I'm afraid I'll hurt you. Do you want to hear how we can make it work without hurting me? I bit my lip, staring at him. Kyle's breathing quickened again. He rubbed my lips with his thumb, his voice low and rough. You started this. Don't cry if you regret it. I suspected Kyle had a switch inside him. When the switch was off, he was calm and distant. But when it was on, his desire erupted like a volcano, fiery, relentless, unstoppable. He became a beast in the night, lost in a sea of desire. In the end, I shook my head, resisting through my tears. He patiently coaxed me, pulling me back to his side. Be good. Don't hide. Kyle's stamina was beyond human. After everything last night, he was still up early for work. When I woke up, I ate the breakfast he had prepared for me while dealing with a bombardment of messages. I texted him, we talked all night yesterday. I woke up a little late today. Hope you're not mad? Kyle replied briefly, in a meeting. From Daddy's girl, if you're this dismissive, it's better not to reply at all. Makes me seem unreasonable. He didn't respond. I sent another message, you really have a cold heart. Seems like you have other girls who chat better than me, pamper you, and make you happy. I guess you don't like me anymore. I'm not as pretty as the other girls. Did you finish comforting them? It's my turn now, right? How many years would I get for sending a message over there? Just as I sent the last message, my phone rang. It was Lucien. He was my direct boss. I picked up the phone respectfully. Hi, is there something wrong? Lucien hesitated, then said, the boss asked me to tell you that his phone is connected to the projector. He saw all your messages, but it's not convenient for him to reply right now. I could almost smash my head into the food in front of me. I was nervously tapping my toes on the floor when an unexpected guest arrived at my home. Kyle's mother. The chairwoman of the board. Ms. Andrea. Andrea came from an aristocratic family, and her air of refined nobility was unmistakable. Nearly 60, yet she still had a certain grace, and I'm sure she must have been a beauty in her youth. She glanced at me casually, as if she could see right through me. I fidgeted nervously, twisting my fingers, standing there uneasily under her gaze. She slowly spoke, Linda? Raised in an orphanage, with hearing impairment. I never would have thought it would be you. It was me who pursued Mr. Kyle first, I mumbled. She chuckled lightly, I naturally know what kind of taste my son has. Ah, so this was the skill of a true master, no harsh words, just a way of trampling over one's dignity without saying a thing. The door suddenly crashed open, and Kyle, who should have been in a meeting, rushed in. I looked at him with a glimmer of hope, but then that hope quickly faded. Would he stand by my side? In truth, I never knew how Kyle felt about me. Was it just an attraction to his secretary, who'd been with him day and night? Or was it simply a matter of helping a girl he'd been supporting for years? If it were love. I didn't even dare to think that option. Aren't you in a meeting? Andrea asked. Kyle took a deep breath and calmly replied, I saw someone enter through the surveillance, so I came back to check. Andrea nodded, offering a gentle smile, I just came to see Miss Linda. After all, it's fate, we shouldn't neglect someone because of it. My eyes immediately filled with tears, and I bit my lip hard, but my red-rimmed eyes betrayed me. Kyle placed his hand on my shoulder and gently said, I won't neglect you. The tears of humiliation slipped down my cheeks, like pearls that had broken off their string. I trembled, wiping away the tears that blurred my vision, and muttered, I'll pack up and leave. But Kyle firmly held on to me, not letting go. He cupped my chin and said, listen to me. He led me in front of Andrea and, with serious determination, declared, I'm going to marry Linda. Andrea furrowed her brows and asked coldly, do you even know what you're saying? Kyle smiled lightly, I'm not asking for your approval. I'm informing you. For a moment, Andrea's calm and graceful demeanor seemed to crack. She trembled as she pointed at Kyle's forehead, Kyle, don't forget your identity. Do you think your marriage is something you can decide on your own? Everything you have is tied to this family. How could the board ever allow you to marry a deaf girl? Kyle lowered his head and spoke softly to me, don't listen. He wanted to take out my cochlear implant, but I stubbornly held on to it, I want to hear. He looked at Andrea helplessly, then stopped saying things Linda doesn't want to hear. He held my hand, resolutely saying, Mom, I've been shackled since I was 15. I gave up every emotion and happiness unrelated to the company's development. I never resisted. For 15 years, I didn't slack off. Now everything is developing well. Andrea fell silent, unable to refute him. I've worked hard for 15 years. It wasn't for the right to choose whom to love being taken away from me in the end. I love Linda. She's carrying my child now, and I'm definitely marrying her. The silence hung in the air. It was the theme of the evening. For me, the silence was a long wait. For Andrea, the silence was a sudden shock. Finally, recovering from the shock, she pointed at my belly in disbelief. Is there my grandchild in there? Before I could react, Andrea had already leaned in close to my belly, her eyes wide in amazement. The elegance of a high society lady was nowhere to be seen. I nervously looked to Kyle for help. He, too, seemed helpless. Mom, the baby is only as big as a peanut right now. You can't hear anything. When Andrea heard that, her face broke into a huge smile. My grandchild's already as big as a peanut? I quietly added, Ma'am, it might not be a boy. Andrea immediately became flustered. Boys are born to do hard labor. I don't like that. If it's a girl, I'll love her well. No one expected Andrea's attitude to change so suddenly. Much later, she told me that she had spent every day thinking about how to push Kyle into becoming a successful man. It wasn't just Kyle who had struggled, she herself had walked on thin ice. But when she learned that she would have a grandchild, the desire to dote on that child suddenly awakened inside her, and it couldn't be stopped. Mother and son both had this deep desire to control, a trait passed down from one generation to the next. When the baby was 3 months old, Kyle accompanied me to my prenatal checkup, and Andrea insisted on coming along. Although Martin was an excellent doctor, Kyle still insisted on having a female doctor for me. He awkwardly said, I don't want him looking at your belly. How old-fashioned. As we looked at the sonogram, where the fetus already had a shape resembling a little person, both Kyle and Andrea began to cry, leaving me and the doctor dumbfounded. After the consultation, Kyle suddenly returned to the examination room, locking the door behind him. When he came out, Andrea insisted on knowing what he had discussed with the doctor. Kyle refused to say. Andrea was getting frustrated. Is there something I'm not allowed to know? Kyle's earlobes turned red, but he remained silent. Furious, Andrea linked her arm with mine and began walking out, trying to form an alliance with me to isolate Kyle. That evening, after Andrea insisted I drink my supplements, she lay her head on my belly, listening intently for a long time, until Kyle finally kicked her out. I played some prenatal music for the baby, and was about to turn off the lights to go to sleep, when Kyle started tossing and turning beside me. I rolled my eyes. Do you have lice or something? He suddenly rolled over, positioning himself above me, his eyes fixed on me. Was he cursed or something? The doctor said it's okay now, he said. Okay? What's okay? I asked, confused. He grabbed my hand and placed it on his abs, rubbing it back and forth. I pulled my hand back as if burned. Don't tempt me into doing something I'll regret. Kyle smirked, his voice low and teasing. Baby, don't you want me? It suddenly dawned on me, so that's what you were asking the doctor about today? Kyle just smiled and didn't answer. He slowly leaned in, pressing his warm, moist lips against my earlobe. My earlobe was extremely sensitive, and I shuddered, curling my body up. Kyle seemed pleased with my reaction, pulling me up by my slender waist. How are you still so thin, even though you're 3 months pregnant? I pinched his waist, marveling at the feeling of his muscles. I gently closed my eyes, savoring the moment, letting Kyle take me on a wild ride through time and space, like I was drunk. Suddenly, Kyle stopped all movement. I opened my eyes, confused, and kicked him in frustration. His eyes were burning with desire, but he stopped, his body tense. Why did you change your online name? I blinked. Daddy's little girl? He smiled. It's just to show that someone will always protect me from now on. No hidden meaning, I said. No hidden meaning? He rubbed his nose against mine, his breath warm and heavy. He leaned back slightly. What did you just call me? Husband? He remained still. Baby? Still no response. I was getting desperate, scratching at his shoulders in frustration. What is it then? The smile on his lips spread wider, as he coaxed me, think again. The laughter in his eyes carried a hidden meaning, a playful edge, and I finally realized. I wrapped my arms around his neck and whispered something impossible to say aloud in his ear. Kyle's body stiffened, a bow drawn tight with powerful energy, so much so that it almost shattered me. This big pervert. How could I ever have thought of him as a gentleman before? Our wedding was grand, and Andrea took care of everything, so I didn't have to worry about a thing. All the influential people in City A came to the wedding. Kyle was busy greeting the guests, while Andrea stayed with me, helping me with makeup and chatting with a few socialites. She's not feeling well, so she won't be standing up to greet everyone. You all understand, right? Ha ha ha, I can't believe how lucky I am to have such a beautiful daughter-in-law. My granddaughter's looks are definitely guaranteed, ha ha ha. Bradley arrived, following his parents. Kyle, who had been smiling so happily, suddenly looked cold and distant, his face like ice as he said, I only invited 2 people. Kyle wasn't the type to act out on impulse. He genuinely didn't like Bradley. He had once told me, I don't mind Bradley using my name to pursue you, but if he wins you over and doesn't cherish you, that's something I can never forgive. Seeing the tension in the air, Lucien called me, Madam, Bradley is here. Let Kyle take the call, I said. Baby, Kyle's voice was muffled, clearly upset. Everyone's already here, it wouldn't make sense to ask them to leave. I didn't save him a seat. He made an excuse, sounding somewhat formal. Then let him sit at the farthest end, I suggested. Fine, Kyle agreed reluctantly, but then took the chance to set a condition. But you'll have to make it up to me tonight. My scalp tingled. Just thinking about how this man was never satisfied left my back aching, my legs sore, and stars flashing before my eyes. Is it too late to run away from the wedding? Kyle chuckled softly, you're mine for life. I suggest you save your energy and not bother. My precious. End of story.